Hello everyone. Welcome to the Data Lake Summit, brought to you by Qubole. My name is Ashish Thusoo and I am the co-founder of Qubole. Qubole is a data lake platform used by many companies in many different industries to drive their analytics, machine learning, and data engineering workloads. I'm super excited to be here to be kicking off this industry event, which I'm sure will have a lot of conversations around data lakes and their place in the world today. We have 55 eminent speakers, industry thought leaders, practitioners, and pioneers who have all played a big part in building and taking forward the concept of data lakes in many different organizations. There are 50 sessions on 5 different tracks, ranging from thought leadership, success stories, use cases, technology, and best practices from speakers across the spectrum of the industry. I hope you'll find all these talks and all these conversations highly insightful and quite engaging. Over the course of next 2 days, you will be participating in these engaging and insightful conversations. I am looking forward to being part of this conversation. The next 2 days promise to be a lot of fun. Welcome again to the Data Lake Summit 2020. This summit would not have been possible without our sponsors. I want to thank our cloud sponsors, both AWS and GCP, for their support in making the summit happen. I also want to thank all our ISV and SI sponsors, Big Data for All, Coda Global, Genpact, Ascend.io, and SIRS for sponsoring this industry event. We all hope that all of you will have a fruitful next 2 days and come away from the summit learning something new, not only from the sessions, but also from your peers and from the other practitioners. At the end of the day, the summit is constructed of you, for you, and by you. Along with the terrific set of speakers and industry experts that we have, I'm sure in this summit we also have participants who are just starting to take their organizations on the path to becoming data-driven. All of us speak the common language of data, and all are gathered here not only to learn, but also to add to the conversation around data lakes. I am really looking forward to the next 2 days. We are in the midst of a data revolution. In fact, in this age of intelligence, data is the new oil. Today, we are capturing data both in terms of its volume and in terms of its variety like never before. We no longer talk about petabytes and exabytes of data. We now talk about zettabytes of data. By 2025, according to IDC, the total sum collective of data in the world would be at a staggering 175 zettabytes. The Moore's law of data is well at work and predicts doubling the data every year, which basically means that every year we produce same amount of data as has been existing since the dawn of human civilization till that particular time. However, it was not always like this. Data was not always the centerpiece of industry. The world was first data curious to start with. In a data curious world, data is subservient to intuition. Decisions and actions were made on intuition, and data was merely serving the purpose of reinforcing that intuition. However, it is not enough to be data curious anymore. Then the world moved to being data savvy. In a data savvy world, intuition and data went hand in hand. There were instances where intuition would play a bigger role, especially if the data was not available. And there were instances where data would inform the decision making and process. And they were both intuition and data were basically peers. However, it is not enough to be data savvy either now. In the current world, we are in a paradigm of being data driven. Every decision and every action is not just influenced, but is also informed by data today. At the dawn of the age of intelligence, data has become the basis of intuition and therefore a key driver behind decisions and actions. With this total dependence on data, another important era or a paradigm shift has started. We are now moving to a world that is data impatient. In a data impatient world, data needs to be available and consumable instantaneously. And it is in this context of a data impatient world that data lakes have a huge and pivotal role to play. Data lakes are the central construct that are feeding the data impatient world. So let's talk about some of the examples of a data impatient world. A very topical example of the data impatient world is the current global health crisis of COVID-19. The loss of life and the economic suffering that this pandemic has unleashed is unprecedented. However, data is at the center of the fight against this pandemic. As has been noted by Francesca Dominici, a leading public health expert at the Harvard University Public School of Health, it is hard to think of an example regarding COVID-19 that doesn't have data science methodology and challenges at the forefront. The need for data impatience can never be as apparent when it is about saving lives and protecting the vulnerable. At this summit, you will hear from AWS how the AWS COVID-19 data lake is playing a key role in the urgent fight against this pandemic. Yet another example of data impatience is seen in the emergence of self-driving cars. Self-driving cars, which are much more of a reality today than they were even 5 years ago. Such vehicles make real-time decisions on data. And in the context of a self-driving car, delayed decisions can be catastrophic. Artificial intelligence, which drives such a car and its resurgence, has a lot to do with harnessing the power of data to make machines do what was only possible in science fiction before. This same artificial intelligence is now making its way into enterprise workflows. At the summit, you will also hear from Rajat Monga, co-creator of TensorFlow, on what are the exciting developments in the field of artificial intelligence and what is in it for enterprises. I am personally very excited about this particular talk. Another example of us living in a data impatient world is apparent in the very old industry of gaming. Back in the old days, a video game platform was synonymous with a console like an N64 or an Xbox 360. Today, that is quickly changing. Video games themselves are increasingly becoming platforms and with a gaming as a service model and esports. Publishers today and developers today are pressured to develop the content and deliver the content that their gamers demand and deliver them on demand. Manufacturers, on the other hand, must know the habits of their gamers, how they use the content, how they interact with the hardware, which is all powering the best gaming experience. At the center of all this is data. Data and insights from all these touch points that a gamer can make are needed and are used by the industry to become more responsive to the needs of the gamers, to win their loyalty, and to bring to bear the best gaming experience. A typical prominent game today deals with 250 million players around the globe, 125 million events per minute, and 150 terabytes of data collected per day. All of this data has to be put to work right away in real time in order to provide the best gaming experience to the users. This is yet another example on how we are entering a data impatient world. So data is clearly at the heart of every industry. Every industry leading companies have used their data, whether they're the Netflixes or the Expedias of the worlds, or the examples that I mentioned. And that is really the common theme behind many of these companies. They use data for driving actions and decisions, and they are at the very heart data impatient. There are three major categories of analytics that all of these winners use data for. They use data to learn from the past, to understand the present, and to predict the future. Learning from the past is driven by business intelligence and dashboarding and ad hoc analysis on historical data. Understanding the present involves real-time and streaming analysis on data as it arrives. And predicting the future involves using machine learning and artificial intelligence to create models out of current and past data sets, which can predict what will happen in the future. In order to serve these three different analytics use cases in a data impatient world, modern data architecture today stands on two pillars: data warehouses and data lakes. Now, data warehouses have been around for a long time, and they power traditional business intelligence, and they work on structured data sets through SQL. Data lakes, on the other hand, have emerged to be the infrastructure to drive real-time streaming analysis, data exploration, and machine learning and AI-based prediction. Data lakes work on open data formats on any kind of data, whether it is structured, unstructured, or semi-structured. And at the same time, they provide the ability to plug in different types of analytics on these data sets. These analytics could be ranging from SQL to machine learning to AI to streaming and maybe some that we don't even know today. In a data impatient world, data lakes also provide the construct of a continuous data engineering process to support these different types of analytics. It'll be interesting to see how in the coming years these two pillars of data infrastructure evolve? Do they merge, and do they evolve into a common platform which subsumes all the analytics needs of a data driven enterprise? Or do they exist as an interdependent pieces of enterprise data infrastructure? In the next few years, this will all be played out. But one thing is for certain: whichever architecture dominates, openness has to be central to its theme. A very important part of the data lake architecture is its openness. In a layered architecture of an enterprise data lake, the infrastructure is today built on the cloud. The data is stored in open formats. A data management layer supports the ability to manage the data lifecycle easily with features like transactions. And various open source engines then provide different types of processing capabilities on top of open data formats. A key part of the data lake's promise is to enable access across an enterprise. Qubole, for example, has many customers who have hundreds, if not thousands, of users using a data lake. But for this enterprise grade access or enterprise wide access, enterprise grade security and access control, governance, and monitoring are a must have in any data lake architecture. On this infrastructure, many tools can then exploit this base infrastructure to make data accessible to the data users, and which is a key requirement in any organization becoming data driven in a data impatient world. The flexibility of an open platform provides a base that can evolve with the changing needs of analytics as we go forward. At Qubole, since our founding in 2011, we have pioneered cloud data lakes. Today, our platform has all these features needed for a modern data lake. It is open, simple, and secure. It works off of data stored in open data formats. The built-in automation provides administrative simplicity and also simplicity of data access. And it does all this with an enterprise-grade governance model, both for access as well as for financial governance. With close to 200 customers across the world and a 300-person strong team, Qubole has continued to pioneer cloud data lakes, and in the process is making data lakes a reality to enterprises in many different industries. Today, we are taking another step in that journey. I am very pleased to announce that we'll continue this journey going forward now as a part of Idera, which is a global operator of infrastructure and data management software brands. This morning, a press release announced Idera's acquisition of Qubole. Idera will operate Qubole as a standalone brand in its portfolio. The Qubole brand and the Qubole platform, which our customers have come to love and rely on, will continue to grow and evolve and provide value to our customers and our partners. Later this week, Idera CEO Randy Jacobs will send a letter to all customers and partners explaining his vision, commitments. And I am excited to have Idera's guidance and resources to drive the next phase of Qubole's growth. I am confident you will be too. With that, welcome again to the Data Lake Summit. Through the 5 tracks and 50 sessions, We hope that all of you get a clear picture in this summit of how data lakes drive meaningful impact in our lives in the context of a data impatient world. Through thought leadership talks, talks on case studies and best practices, talks on technology, and lightning talks on various interesting topics, I hope all of you can learn and add to the conversation around data lakes. I am looking forward to the next 2 days to discuss and learn how to feed a data impatient world today. I'm hoping that all of you bring your voice to the summit. If you learn something insightful, if you find something interesting, do tweet about it with the hashtag of Pound Data Lake Summit. Join the Slack channel at datalakes-summit.slack.com and engage in conversations with your peers and with others in the industry. And join the Open Data Lake community. Follow Qubole on Twitter and Facebook and be part of the conversation. With that, welcome again and looking forward to the next 2 days of impactful, insightful talks, sessions, and conversations. Thank you.